Hey, what's up? I'm Planarwalk, and I'm sorry if the microphone quality is not too good. I'm actually having to record this off a different computer to my normal one because the power thing broke. But anyway, today I want to talk about the story of Final Fantasy 15. Now keep in mind that I haven't seen Kingslave. This is probably really important because Kingslave will probably contain a lot of the story, but I have seen the first 12 minutes. So what we already know is that the Niflheim Empire goes and invades Lucis. And there's been a war for quite a few years going on, and that's told in, it's told throughout the stories that are free to watch, like Brotherhood, the first hour of Final Fantasy 15, etc. So when Niflheim is invading Lucis, they use these things called demons, and these range from smallish creatures to huge, giant monstrosities, kind of like the Foul Sea in Final Fantasy 13. But how exactly these play into the story, I do not know. I'm thinking that they will have big relevance seeing as they are huge. So they probably have some sort of huge relevance, kind of like the weapons in Final Fantasy 7. They kind of, although they were optional bosses, they also had big relevance because they were destroying stuff during Final Fantasy 7. Now, about the boss, I would really like Arden to be the boss. I really would. But whether he is or not, that remains to be seen. What I think will sort of happen with Arden is he will try getting a huge amount of power, kind of like, I don't know, kind of like Vayne from Final Fantasy 12, how he, if you haven't played Final Fantasy 12, there is a few spoilers coming out, but Vayne is the Final Fantasy 12 boss, and he pretty much went power hungry and tried to get heaps of power from the gods of Final Fantasy 12. I could actually see that happening with Arden. Arden sort of tries to get the power of the gods of Final Fantasy 15, and then become super powerful. I can see that happening, although that would be kind of copying off Final Fantasy 12, which would be kind of cheap, in my opinion. Because Final Fantasy 13 is kind of like Final Fantasy 10, to be honest. And Final Fantasy 14 is kind of like Final Fantasy 11, Final Fantasy 15 could be like Final Fantasy 12. I hope that they do not do that. I really hope that they don't. But yeah, that's what I think Arden will be like. As for the main story, so as I said before, there's Lucis invading, as I said before, there's Niflheim invading Lucis, and then pretty much Noctis has to find these weapons. He also has to find summons on his little thing. So it's kind of like the Dawn Shard things in Final Fantasy 12. What I think will happen is that there's going to be something else involved in the centre of the story. What it is, I do not know. Probably something to do with the gods. Some big sort of fight with the gods. And during that, it won't focus so much on the war between Niflheim and Lucis. So that's what I think will happen. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I think will happen. And during this sort of time, maybe people from Lucis will try and Niflheim will try and help each other. And because the story does take place over 10 years, a 10-year invasion, the invasion probably doesn't take that long, but yeah, it's definitely a long story. Although, if I remember correctly, Final Fantasy XII took place over a year or two. So yeah, it is definitely a long story. Now, one thing that was spoiled from the get-go with probably Kingsglaive. I haven't seen Kingsglaive, but I do think that King Regis dies. I mean, he is voiced by Sean Bean. That probably qualifies as an instant death sentence for his character. But that's just speculation. May or may not have happened, may or may not happen in Final Fantasy 15. I mean, it does say in the first part that King Regis is dead, although it also says that Prince Noctis is dead as well, so you don't know. But yeah, another thing is Ignis. He goes blind somehow. I've just watched so many videos that say, oh, he's gone blind. So he's probably blind. I've seen that he has a walking stick in one part of it. How Ignis being blind will affect the game, I do not know. How it will affect the story, probably have some sort of impact, maybe on his fighting. I'm not sure about that. I'm also thinking that with the whole transition between the invasion and some bigger problem, that that will be more of the transition between the open world and the linear gameplay, because during the invasion you'll have this big open world to explore, but then when it goes to sort of the other thing, you'll be set on a more linear path, which makes sense to me. It makes sense that they'd do it like that. But it's all just, as I said, it's all just speculation. I do not know what exactly is going to happen. And I'm hoping that they'll expand on these big, huge demons a lot more. That's what I'm hoping. But anyway, leave a like and subscribe if you like that video. Leave a comment of what you think will happen in Final Fantasy 15. I don't think I covered everything which I think is going to happen, but I've covered most of it, I think. Anyway, I will see you in the next video. Between you and me, thank you for watching.